All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome to our Sunday gathering for Skelly Check the Nuts Legacy. TokiTV, thanks for being with us today. There's 4 of us today, so we're big, or as Howard on our screen, so it looks a little weird. Thanks for being with us, guys. No, and just checking. Tina, how are you?
I'm good. I'm happy to be here. Always happy to be here for Toki's legacy and her family.
Yeah, I'm super looking forward, you guys. We're going to talk about the book, have our little book club live, and talk about the book from Marcia today. This will be good. Ma, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Just glad to be back, and birthday's out of the way, but one more coming up. But really glad to be here. Missed you all.
Too, and I love seeing that you're live with us from your art room.
Yeah,
this is starting to look like Ma's art gallery over here. From art room to art gallery.
Thank you.
Howard, what's happening? Howard, what's going on over there in the Sea?
It's a quiet day right here. It's just sort of a gray, drizzly day. It's quite nice, actually. But the excitement is over on San Juan Island, where J and K pods are coming up, came out of the Pacific apparently, and rounded Discovery Island, which means they're headed up toward San Juan. So that's the last I heard. I don't have a lot of details, but it sounds like J and K pods.
Awesome. Well, hopefully they come and show out in front of the live stream. That would be good.
Yeah.
That way.
Freddie's watching. Freddie, we miss you, Freddie. Maybe you should just hop on here, jump on.
Oh, she's frozen.
But that's okay. Freeze, did I do something weird? Yeah.
You froze.
Sorry.
Fed up.
I'll stop messing around with the buttons. I don't have Deb Cruz today. We gave Deb Cruz the day off because she is involved in so many things, and she's been working really hard since Wednesday on a different event that she participates in. So she jumped on here. I told her I think we'll be okay. I've already glitched it once, so maybe not. I don't know, but we'll try. Let's talk about the book, you guys. If you guys remember last week, we had Marcia on. Marcia would be with us today, but she had another event as well. We're all being called to these wonderful, amazing things. And so she's doing that. But the book, Unfathomable, Lessons of a Whale Leaves for Humanity by Marcia Hinton Davis. Oh, good. Sylvia said she read it too. Maybe, Sylvia, you can hop on here too if you want. Let's get into it. Howard, should we start with a little clip first, or do you want to say something before we do the clip?
Well, I just want to say this is an amazing book. It's a beautiful book and well titled, Unfathomable. It's the proper humility that we don't have a total understanding. We can't plumb the depths of Toki's consciousness or Orca consciousness or what the lessons are that she is teaching us. But to really frame the book, I think it'll be good to show this clip. It's 3.5 minutes out of a 1-hour documentary from 1996 called Lolita, Spirit in the Water, produced by Como TV here. And I'll reveal a little tidbit that I don't think Marcia may even know, is that, it was all about Toki and about her coming home. But that's not what they told the management at the Seaquarium, because to get inside the doors and do that interview, they made up a story that this is to feature the life of a trainer. So all about, the glorious, life training an orca. And of course, Marcia warmed up to that because she made it about Toki, not so much about her, which was beautiful. So we could play that little clip maybe, and then.
She's one of the longest living orcas in an oceanarium anywhere in the world. She's been here since 1970, so she's had many trainers over the years and used different techniques with training. My first contact with her was in 1988. It's like having a best friend that you get to see every day and do neat stuff with every day, and it's not a person, it's an orca.
Lolita and her trainer, Marcia Henton, look forward to their quiet times together between performances.
The bottomless pit. That's the bottomless pit. The bottomless pit.
By nature, killer or orca whales are very social animals. But Lolita has been without a companion for the past 15 years. Except for the dolphins in her tank, Marcia and the other trainers here are her only family.
She loves it when the trainers enter the water with her. She likes to pull us around and we swim with her and dive down and play those games. She enjoys that a lot. Her favorite toy in the world is an old trainer wetsuit. I'm not really sure why, but the reason I think she enjoys it is it's very interactive. She likes to spray in the hose. She likes a lot of close contact. It's like a massage. She likes it in her mouth and on her teeth and on her back. It's a very unique experience, and I'm charged with the responsibility that this animal's care is in my hands. Here, let me look in that blowhole and see what's going on in there, huh? Good girl. What, too? Very nice. But she receives vitamins every day. We do a full body exam every day. We take blood from her. She urinates into a bottle on command. We do pap smears, fecal cultures, blowhole exhale slides. You name it, we get a sample of it. And she's very good with that training. We've been able to monitor every aspect of her physiology. There's nothing about her chemistry that we don't know.
But what we are just beginning to know and understand is the incredible intelligence of these animals. And Lolita has proven to be at the head of her class.
I've been able to go back into her journals 20 years and look up old signals, and those signals are what the trainers use to communicate with the animals. And I know for a fact I haven't used a certain signal for the time I've been here, 8 years. So I can walk up here and give her a signal she hasn't seen in at least 8 years, and she remembers it. When she comes over to me or when we're interacting together, she looks right into my eyes. It almost feels like my soul is open to her.
When I saw that in 1996, it had a deep impression on me. It taught me a lot about Toki that I suspected, that I, sort of knew, but I really only knew them from the field out here, from being out on the water with them and seeing them from a distance. And, they don't have a lot of time to spend with people. They're busy. They've got lives. They've got their families. They've got, lots of activities going on all the time. I'm sure they're very aware of everyone that's watching them, but they don't interact with them. But there she did with Marcia. And it taught me a lot about Marcia too. It opened my eyes that, all trainers are not alike. And she was one very special trainer who was not a trainer. She says in the book, she didn't think of herself as a trainer. She was being trained. And she gives complete awe and respect to Toki for her I mean, she tries to fathom it, but the title of the book tells it. I mean, she is articulate and really extensive in her trying to understand Toki's capabilities and the depth of her empathy and her consciousness and her effect and her, I guess, morality in a way, that she is just gentle and has such personality and wit and sense of humor and all of these things that she learned from Toki. And you really get the feeling from reading this, and I think Marcia would back this up, that Toki really did train Marcia to be a better person, to learn those characteristics and those ways of interacting and being with people. And I think that speaks so highly of Marcia for being able to learn to be open to that. But also, it tells us a lot about orcas worldwide, but maybe especially about her family, southern residents. They lived for millennia with people, with the indigenous people here, with the Lummies, with the Suquamish, with the Swinomish, with the dozens of tribes over thousands of years, who were all canoe people. That's how they went places. That was their culture, based around canoes and salmon. And so they were out on the water looking for the same fish and meeting up with orcas. I mean, they had to. There's obviously no record, no documentary, but they had to be out there with people at eye level. When you're paddling a canoe, you're about 2 or 3 feet off the water, and they just have to lift up and take a look at you and get acquainted. And I'm sure it happened thousands and thousands of times over those millennia in much the same way that it happened with Marcia in Miami, because that's inherent in the orca.
Yeah, thanks for saying that, Howard. That's definitely true, because you've seen, a few pictures, but we're talking years and years and years of this. There was no cameras. There was no, document that really that those connections. I don't know another way to say it. It's a spiritual, deep connection.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about in like parts of the book. Marcia doesn't shy away from venturing to having those conversations about, this. It's a spiritual thing. There's these unexplained phenomena that have us connected to these animals, and especially to me, to Toki, and she's connected all of us, and which has connected us to her family as well. So many people, maybe they're from the islands and they know of the southern residents, and then that's how they know of Toki. But for so many people, they knew of Toki first, and now they know about the southern residents, and now they know about their plight and what we can do and why we continue to meet every single week, and why people continue to make posts every single day and text messages every day. It's just this connection. I don't even want to say small, but it started here, and it goes out and out and out, because we're here to do stuff. Yeah, we're gonna go woo-woo in a little while, but let's check in. Christina, is there anything you want to say so far about, or just kind of your overview of the book before we dive into specifics?
I love how she covers just about everything that's just so important, really, because it's all connected, so all of these things are super important for the entire world. It's not just, about one orca that was in captivity. It's like she did a bang up job just covering everything, because there's so much going on, and we all can make a difference, and that's what she's talking about, and bringing people together. And I really, really love that. I mean, it's awesome, but don't forget the tissues. Because you're gonna need the tissues when you read this book. But it's magnificent. Yep, and I'm really happy with it. This is my second time reading it, actually. So
Awesome.
Yep.
Awesome. Christine was trying to jump on with us. It wasn't working, but she said she loved it when Marcia said Toki gave her a look on her side when Toki was asked to do a trick by another trainer, and then Toki deliberately did the trick wrong. She did, but she made sure Marcia knew, like, hey, watch this. I'm gonna mess with them, and she did, and it does speak to her humor, like you said, Howard. Thanks, Christine, for putting that in there. And you guys, please feel free to type in, some of your favorite parts of the book. I know a lot of people bought it last week, and just want to thank you for that, because the more we know, the more we can share, right? And Marcia shares so much that we would have never known, because they're intimate moments. They're just things that she got to experience with her, because she was there with her every single day, and we would never know these things if Marcia would not share them. So really, really thank you, Marcia. I know you're watching, so
Yeah, I would like to emphasize that point, because the Seaquarium in every marine park is a fortress. I mean, it's just a blank wall, and everybody has NDAs. Nobody can say anything. You never hear what's going on inside. Even little events, little interactions, little moments, that are really important. Nothing. But now Marcia has really spilled it. I mean, she has really said what it's like from the heart, and with examples, with moments, with all these little events and little interactions and little, things that set her back, like, oh my God, how did she know that? How I mean, Toki sort of, set up moments that, Marcia learned from, and we've learned all that from her. And she also goes into as much as she could on the technical details and what happened in those terrible 3 days when Toki went down, and a lot of the behind the scenes, the sort of the I wouldn't say friction, but the less than harmonious relationship between the Seaquarium staff, most of which, Dolphin Company had just taken over. But really, it was pretty much a lot of the old staff that had been there for years and years, and seriously stuck in their ways, and with a really bad attitude toward anybody that cared for Toki, or much less wanted her to come home. So there was a real disagreement with a lot of the staff, and they never left control. They really, even though friends of Toki were able to bring in Marcia and Jeff and some other real good trainers or companions for Toki, there was still that overhanging shadow of the old staff that just didn't like anything they were doing. So I mean, she goes into that. That's just sort of an example of that. This book, Marcia is really candid about a lot of those experiences.
Yeah. Christine also mentioned here, Howard, and this is an interesting point, and I don't know, maybe you have some research to back this or talk about this, but she said, she realized too that Toki recognized colors. Don't know why I didn't realize before, but the interactive buttons that Marcia made were brilliant. And she was, push the red button for food. And then I think somebody else said something too about her paintings, like she would choose the colors. It said that in a previous book. What do you think about that, Howard?
I'm not sure it was the colors. It may have been the shapes, because as I understand, according to the science, orcas have very little color vision. They have mainly, light and dark grayscales. So that they can see better at depth, because it's, once you get 10 or 15, 20 feet below the surface, it gets very murky. And so you're not going to see much color. So they would be adapted for that environment. As I understand, I could be wrong there, maybe there's more recent research, but it's really, from the way she described it, there was, the square, the circle, the star, so they were different shapes, I think, more than colors. That would have been a really interesting experiment to do with her. But of course, the science, other than Marcia's attempts, and that was a really interesting experiment that she did.
Yeah.
But otherwise, there was no effort to learn from Toki by the Seaquarium over the decades, or SeaWorld or any other park. It's, even though it's a terrible travesty and tragedy to do to them, to keep them in captivity, at least there could be some redeeming value in learning something about them, but that was never a priority.
What a really big point that is, Howard, because the book, right? Like lessons a whale leaves for, we've learned from her. But they didn't, or maybe they didn't publish it, but I'm sure they learned something. I'm sure she touched so many hearts there as well, but what a missed opportunity. And again, I just think that I've said this and I'll say it forever, like we're so far behind, like there's so much we could know, or maybe they do see color, maybe we don't see color. We're not smart enough to figure that out, and I think there's just that whole piece of the brain that we don't have. The folds are different. There's so much to their brain that how are we supposed to possibly understand it when we don't even possess it? We don't even have it,
But they do see color. She talked about it in the other book, and also told me stories about paintings that Toki did when she was. Yeah, I'm certain that they see colors and smell as well. I mean, just because the science says it, to me, because it's such a different thing with them. It's just. I just have to say that.
No. Let's get into it.
Mom wants to say something.
Oh, sorry, Mom. Did I have you muted? Oh, yes, I do. Sorry.
Yeah. I'm based. With all the communication that I had with Toki, but not just Toki, the images that she gave to me were colours. She remembers absolutely everything, and colours were included. And that was the colours of her home, the colours of the trees, the colour of the water, and even the colours of wildflowers and salmon. So, again, we're talking about, and you all know what I believe, and it's all about frequency, and it's spiritual frequency and quantum physics. That's what I've learned. But with them, in my experience, they are so far advanced that we are, as you say, so far behind them. But not just with dream states, but when you that's why people connect with them so easily, is that when you're in a physical state with them, that connection is absolutely huge. And with Tillicum, I'll say it again, he knocked me off my feet. He was so strong in his connection and his frequency. With Toki, she was a lot gentler and a lot more motherly in her connections with me, and I assume everybody else. But I don't know whether you all remember, there was a show we did when Marcia very, very first came on the show. And as soon as I heard Marcia's voice, I knew she was the missing link, because Toki had sent me that voice so often. And also her image as well, and I didn't know who it was. I knew she was a past friend, and that was it. But if you remember my reaction that day, I practically jumped off my seat and was saying, "You're the missing link. You're the person she's been looking for." And of course, little did we know how important Marcia was going to be to Toki. But once she was with her, I took a deep sigh of relief, because I knew then that she would be well looked after.
That's true. And so to be able to have this book again from someone who was that for her.
Yeah.
So some of you just joining are like, well, what the heck book are they talking about? And because this is part 2, right? So last week Marcia was on here and she read a lot from her book, Unfathomable. And let's do that for those, so that people who are watching who haven't read the book kind of have an idea. I always mess up this word. Is it girified, Howard?
I'm sorry?
Is the word girified? Is that how you say it?
Girified, yes.
Okay. All right. I don't want to mess it up when I read this.
You got it.
So Marcia writes, I was a witness to the amazing emotion and empathy Toki exhibited, which coincides with the discovery about their amazing brains. Orcas are gifted with the most girified brain on Earth, meaning that they have the most extensive folds in their brains, more than any other organism on the planet, even us. They also have something unique called the paralimbic lobe, or cleft with a large secondary lobe. It is presumed, that these lobes are associated with empathy, processing of emotions, cognitive thinking, and likely a world of other special attributes we have yet to discover. It is now that orcas and other cetaceans may have the ability to send visual and other messages to each other across vast distances. There is also evidence that these beings may possess a one mind type of social dynamism whereby they are virtually connected at all times with one another despite being miles apart. This is communication at a level that we could only dream of, an ability that puts these incredible animals in an entirely different category of intelligence and cognition. Yet we continue to confine them. I'm going to keep reading because I'm going to keep reading. The emotion and empathy I sensed from Toki felt so real to me that it affected my own emotions to a level that I had never experienced before. It was as if the longer I spent with her, the more I was able to detect and feel her emotions directly. I had spent time around animals most of my life and had learned to read subtle cues to determine behavior and attitude. But this was different. There were very few outward behavior cues to pick up on. It was more like being hit with a wave of emotion that is not your own, like a projection that one watches on a screen. And it was being sent deliberately right into my mind. This is the best way I can explain this phenomenon. These amazing attributes demonstrate that time has come for us humans to rethink our relationship with the other life forms on this planet and to stop assuming that we are the pinnacle of intelligence. To me, this assumption, that we are smarter than, or that we are like the top or whatever, that assumption in itself is evidence of how far behind we are. Like Alejandro would say, we're not cavemen, we're behaving like cavemen when we put these animals in captivity. But it's true. I mean, the fact that we could even possibly think that. When she talks about, Marcia had asked me to share some stuff with her, and I couldn't get myself to a place to be able to share. We're still dealing with grief and all that kind of stuff. But when I read that, it just brought back, and I think I've shared this before. There was a time I went, my daughter and I was going to go in to see Toki, and despite refusing to pay Miami Seaquarium over, and I never did. I never paid to get in there, and so we went and we drove in. We paid the parking. This was in, I don't know, my kid's older now, but this is a while back. And we were in the parking lot, and I was gonna go in, you know, and I was like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to pay and I'm going to go in and I'm going to see her. And all of a sudden, this emotion that was not mine came over me. Of course, I was sad about knowing she was in captivity. Of course, I was mad and angry at the park and, you know, have been asked to leave many other parks many times. And so I had all of those emotions and I had my own sadness and my own pain. But I sat in that parking lot and I broke down. And it was a pain that it wasn't mine. And the window was still rolled down and you hear, and that, folks, is Lolita. And there's this splash. And I was feeling this pain at the same time. And it wasn't mine. And in that moment, I knew that was her pain that I was feeling. And so for a second, I thought, okay, if I could take this on for her for just a minute, I'll do that. I can hold that for her. I don't know if her pain was that the show was ending and she knew people were going to be leaving. I don't know if it was the pain that she was missing her family, but it was hers. And no one will ever convince me of different. I was standing right there in the parking lot outside, and I was like just not understanding at first what was happening, and then I realized what was happening. And so every time, you know, fast forward all these years, and every time I would feel that, I'm like, it's okay, girl, I got you. You know, let me hold it for you for a minute. Let me do that. And then, you know, her name, you know, the Spanish derivative of Lolita, you know, is dolor, right? It's pain and sorrow. And Dolores is my middle name. And so I kind of thought maybe I was meant to just hold that pain for her for a little while, you know, but there's that connection there that they do. This image they can put in your mind, this emotion they can put in your emotional body. Come on. I mean, to think that we're smarter to be able to figure that we can't. And it's comforting, because if she could do that with me and I'm miles and miles and miles away, I know she did that with her family.
Right.
I know they communicated. So there, I was able to share it, Marcia, without breaking down too much. And but it's true. It's that they're just so smart, Howard.
And Marcia very well describes what happened off the west side of San Juan Island the day before Toki died, and the 2 days of the 17th and 18th. Can I read an excerpt?
Absolutely.
She describes, you know, the details leading up to her last breath, and the wonder and the awe and her deep emotions as best she can. And I'm not going to try to read those because it's so beautifully done that everyone should experience it directly. But then she says, within minutes of her leaving us, a beautiful double rainbow appeared over her and lingered for what seemed like hours as a lone white dove watched from the gables above. It is very difficult for us to find beauty in death, as our culture tends to fear of it. But that day I saw it. There was beauty and magic all around her as she left this earth. And then I learned later of what had been happening simultaneously thousands of miles away in the Salish Sea. The day before Toki died, a superpod of her entire extended family of J, K, and L pods, and I just received word that it looks like that same superpod is coming into San Juan Island right now. They began to gather directly in front of the webcam and hydrophone located at Limekiln Lighthouse on San Juan Island. This is a very rare occurrence, according to researchers and scientists. Very true. And the gathering brought hundreds of people to the lighthouse and online, and I was one of them, to watch in delight. Scientists and researchers have told me that typically when they see this rare superpod behavior, there is usually an obvious reason, a birth, a death, or some other social event for the orcas to gather all together. It's not necessary, but yeah, there are certainly occasions when a birth or a death will seem to coincide with a superpod. But this time was different. No one outside our team knew that Toki was sick for those few days. We were under strict rules not to share information about her to the public or anyone for that matter. Neither the researchers nor people on the ground or the folks watching the superpod gathering that day on the lighthouse webcam knew she was ill. The orcas who had gathered began to display what appeared as distressed behaviors. Pectoral and fluke slapping, milling about, vocalizing. There wasn't really a lot of vocalizing that was picked up from the hydrophone. There was some. And oddly remaining directly within the webcam frame for nearly the entire event, which lasted 2 days. Well, I know of at least 3 hours that day, that Thursday afternoon. There it is. And there could have been more, and they were on the west side for 2 days. That is very true. They remained overnight Thursday into the next day, which is when Toki died, and didn't leave to hunt or rest. They simply remained and displayed that odd behavior. I've had about 6 years, well, six seasons of field work with Southern residents, 1981 through 82, 81 and 82, and then again 93 through 97. I was, on the boats often, out there doing the photo identification, paralleling the whales. So accompanying the whales, just putting along. And I never saw behavior like this, like I saw that day online. It was not the kind of, touchy-feely group greeting kind of joyousness that you can feel when you see a greeting ceremony. It wasn't that. It was more, I hate to try to characterize it because we obviously don't know what was going on in the minds or the feelings, the emotions of those whales out there. But they were looking like each one was in turmoil, if not anguish, like that. That's just strange. There's a whale not relating to the other whales there, but in the same group with them, and just I don't know. I mean, I read a kind of anguish in that. It's up to the beholder to interpret, but it just looked to me like they knew. I mean, that's just all I can say is it like they were feeling what was going on in Miami with Toki that day somehow. So I really appreciate Marcia getting this documented in this book. And I appreciate Fred Horn, the webcam master at Limekiln, for compiling this excerpt. It's about an hour, 20 minutes condensed out of about an hour that was at least a 3-hour event on the side of San Juan.
We were mentioning last week how it was right before one of our Thursday evening prayer and meditation sessions, and we were all watching this as well before and we actually showed this on that night because we were like, what is happening? What is going on? And we knew that there was something. Guys, if you haven't, when you go to YouTube, go to the Whale Museum, and so you can check out the live stream. There's a particular, like Howard said, I'm showing from the 20-minute, but there's longer. Scroll down and you can see the longer videos. But this was a nice thing that Fred put together. So thank you, Fred, and thanks for saying that, Howard. But yeah, you're right. You can have your own interpretation, but knowing what happened, I don't even know how you can try to deny what was going on there. Ma, check in with you.
I agree. I'm just, they do connect wherever they are, and I firmly believe that those times when she was languishing and she was ill, I knew she was connecting with her family, and her family were connecting with her, and her ancestors were connecting with her also, and that's what got her through those 50 odd years in captivity, is that although she didn't see them physically, she knew each one of them so well spiritually. And what I can't put into words, this behind me represents it all to me, that that's exactly the power that they have to connect with one another, but also to connect with each one of us, if only we could open our minds to it fully. And I count myself lucky that I can. What she's taught me is just so immense. That we are here for a reason, and we are here to progress as a human race. Her captivity and each orca's captivity proves that in our Akashic records, before we're born, I believe we agree to these terms, and orcas, captives all over the world, are trying to teach us what we've forgotten a long time ago. But I've no doubt whatsoever that she connected with her family, and her family connected with her. They definitely knew what was happening, and it was pain that we were seeing. And that was why it was so hard to watch.
Yeah. Debbie was asking if there was sound recorded during this event, and there was. So I'll put some sound on and see if we can. I don't know exactly what parts you'll hear, but I think
in the early part of it, there were some calls, but otherwise, I don't think there were many at all, which is itself very unusual in a superpod gathering, in a greeting, in a social event like that. There's usually a lot of vocalizations. It's like a loud cocktail party underwater.
I was trying to find the parts where you could hear them. It was almost somber. I don't know if that's the word, but yeah. Christina?
Yes.
Anything you want to say to that point?
Oh, sorry. Just I mean, I know that they connect with everyone and their family, and I mean, I just know because they connect with me. So there's no doubt in my mind that they don't, and that was really, it's still hard to watch now actually, because I just remember that night, that Thursday night. And we were all together, and we actually, I remember we put this on the show. It was still live. They were still there. And it was, yeah, it's still hard to watch. That's all. But to me, it's just clear as a bell that they were definitely having some sort of a morning ritual or, you know, something like that. So, and hopefully they're getting together for a birth right now. That would be great because we need more babies. And yeah, they're, to me, they're just amazing. They're like, for lack of another word, godly. I mean, like, I know that's, some people might take that wrong or whatever, but not that they are God. They just seem so much more advanced than we are with the way they are able to, you know, connect with people and each other. So sorry, I'm just kind of rambling.
No, you're good. You're good. Yeah. All right, Ma, I'm gonna take this back over to you to read the excerpt that you chose to read today.
Okay. Okay, so I'm going to read the piece that I wrote for the book. Considering that we're talking about communication and frequency, I thought that this might explain my connection with Toki. So I couldn't hold off any longer. A 4.5-hour drive, leaving my beautiful dogs, my girls, Star and Soleil, Labrador Retriever sisters, then only age 4. Squeezing in between work as an interior designer, art activist, my family, the craziness, Christmas shopping, etc. It is December 18th and I'm dealing with all the ups and downs as usual. Toki and I had been spiritually communicating for a long, long time. This beautiful, gentle being had given her soul to me when Tilikum and I needed help the most. Tilly was a powerhouse and a thunderstorm of an orca being. However, he never once frightened me. We had long telepathic communications, feelings, pictures, smells, life images, what he had and what he was suffering, and all the inhumanity that had gone with it. Toki had used her strength of spirit, her total, complete, and all-encompassing surrounding love, empathy, and motherly demeanour to connect with my feelings of helplessness for him. So many of us, friends with the same feelings. She brought us together, not just us, but many fellow captives connecting together, leaning on one another and giving our strength to show Tilikum his spiritual Akashic agreement. She helped us so much with her love and guidance, and Tilikum finally realised what he had forgotten. He was here to teach us all, what us humans had long forgotten, to live with love and respect for all beings on the earth and ocean, supporting all of us. Toki was struggling with her health recently, and the messages she sent started becoming stronger. Despite my Reiki from a distance each day and my healing songs, I received the dreaded pulling sensation, and all of a sudden a desperate get there now signal came from spirits. To try and explain it, a huge deep pull in the pit of your stomach, an urgency picks you up by the shoulders and throws you to where you need to be. The throb of a deep spiritual connection in your forehead, your third eye pounding, the fret of the heartstring to have to get to another soul now. You can't think of anything else. A living, breathing being in desperate need of your help, your physical connection, to actually see one another in the physical, to breathe the same air and to share the same physical space in a man-made time, along with our healing vibrational connection. For those of you who can't guess by now, I communicate with animals and I am a healer. I am also a spirit medium and a Reiki healer master teacher. The gift from my great-grandmother was passed on to me the day she died, when I was a tiny child. So my first visit to Toki was a mad dash, driving like a crazy woman. And when I arrived at Miami Seaquarium, I was tunnel visioned, zoned and practically levitated into her arena. I knew her pool was small and she had shown me, but nothing could prepare for the actual state of her toilet bowl. The crumbling, dilapidated environment explained to me every symptom she was experiencing. I saw her as soon as I entered, and she saw me. A tunnel of violet light encompassed us both, and with many of my tears, we connected instantly. She swam right over to me with the stewards telling me to step back. However, it didn't matter where I went. She followed me along with her trainer's displeasure. I felt pain in her abdomen, heat in her lungs, and stinging in her eyes. In turn, she gently x-rayed my body, viewing my bodily life scars, and together we rose to higher vibrations. It's all about frequency. I remember asking her if she would allow me to provide her with more Reiki, and she readily accepted. So I stood on the lower steps and started with my healing sigils. I sang my healing songs, and my whole body was vibrating with a violet golden light. I opened my eyes and saw the people in the crowd staring at me, the stewards asking me to move as Toki would not perform, and in her true cheeky fashion decided there was no way today. She was ailing so badly. The water was green. You could not see the bottom. You could not see through her glass. I could feel the stinging in her eyes and chest, which was from the chlorine they had used to try and combat the old and inhumane environment. She gave me the taste of herrings or some kind of small fish, and it made me heave. She longed for salmon. I vowed I would contact every authority I could and get answers from that day forward, and I did so. I would visit her as often as I could, at least monthly, but always when she needed me most. Reiki helped us so much, and everyone I told joined me in using their intent and energy to focus on Toki. She was pure love, pure empathy, gentle strength, fun-loving and living in the moment without a drop of anger. A soul star being of pure light, but never ever did she forget her family, forget her song and her dialect. She never forgot her capture and worried so much about her family and her mother. Do you want me to read the rest of it now? Yeah? That end piece?
Yeah, because I'm gonna put up what Freddie said here too, because I think it's important. Our sacred relationship with the supernatural ones comes from her ancestors of the Cohalmachtin peoples around Mother Earth. So much connection with so many people and such a powerful spiritual being she is. She still is.
She is.
The word that paragraph I wanted Ma to read with to kind of move us forward from here is when I was reading them, I was like, I think this was Ma's, but it felt like mine. It felt like Christine's. It felt like Howard's. These felt like the words from all of us, because it's why we're here. So Ma, go ahead and
Yeah. How strong it feels to look your pain in the eye, and you decide fiercely to not let it destroy you, but to use it as fuel for your strength to create a better tomorrow. So I decided to be as strong as Toki and would look at her pain, my pain, humanity's pain right in the eye, and let it fuel me too for a better tomorrow for her family and all captives worldwide. I simply won't give up, and even today, 6 months after her crossing, she is still bringing us together, still teaching us to do the right thing, prompting us, let's save her family and breach the lower Snake River dams. Extinction is forever. I love you, Toki.
That's beautiful, Ma. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank
You
you,
know,
Toki.
interesting in this book, interesting, not surprising. To me, it like looks like a heart, right?
It does, isn't it?
In
Yeah,
this one paragraph, everything else is in blocks, but for
yeah,
some reason, that one printed in a heart. And you're right. Let's save our family and breach the lower Snake River dams. It's why we're here. It's what we're going to continue to do. Um, and yeah, there's messages. Freddie saying, "Look at how the Coamiston are, going after the yachts and the boats." You don't have to be a scientist to understand what they're saying to people, to all of us above the water. We need to listen. So
yeah,
these are lessons from the orcas. These are lessons from the Quahalmashtin. These are lessons specifically from Scally Chucknut. And for those of you watching, if you want to type in what your biggest lesson was from Skelly Chucknut, feel free to do that now. It's what we got to keep moving forward. And a long time ago in the comments, someone asked, and there's a question for, it might have been for Howard, if NOAA and everyone has acknowledged the southern residents as an endangered species, what is NOAA doing to assist in the breaching of the lower Snake River Dam?
Oh, well, until I think it was last fall, they basically made arguments that there was no need to breach the dams, but they did a 180 and came out with a report finally, I think about a year ago, a little less than a year ago, that said it turns out that, yeah, those dams are leading to the extinction of those salmon. And those are the salmon that southern residents depend on. So NOAA has pretty well supported, that argument, not saying, so let's breach the dams. They don't go that far, but they at least support that argument that the dams are, in fact, leading to the extinction of those salmon. And the report just about a week ago that was released from the Interior Department, but basically from the administration, said that yes, it is true that the dams have violated the treaty rights of all the tribes, indigenous peoples up and down the Columbia Basin. That's never really been admitted before, and it's I haven't read the report, but from what I understand, it not only says that happened, but that it happened knowingly, almost deliberately, much like the extermination of the buffalo to deal with the Indian problem. Was well, let's just take away their food supply. And so that that is in the report, and that is also a really strong argument for breaching that we've been making, and Jesse Nightwalker made so eloquently in his life, and so many others have, but it hasn't come from the administration. So those are two big arguments that the federal government has now made that support breaching. That yes, the dams do kill salmon, and yes, they violate and not just violate the treaty, but that they devastate the cultures of the indigenous tribal peoples up and down the basin. So those are out there. Those are like building blocks to create the momentum and the consensus that there has to be breaching in the near future. So, those are good signs. Way too slow, way too late, but good signs at least that the administration is coming around.
Yeah. Thanks, Howard, for summarizing that. And it's just, you guys, they are communicating, but are you listening? And I think that's the message we need to continue to get across that they are communicating. They're showing up in front of a camera. Like I've said this before, like, come on, people, like we know you have a camera here. We're going to display this right here. And, yeah. So they are communicating. Are you listening? There's lots of things going on out there, you guys. If you haven't, it's Orca Action Month. If you haven't checked out Pacific Wild, I strongly encourage you to do that. They actually have let's see if I can share my screen here. They have a webinar coming up. Give me a second, I'll put it up here. They have a webinar coming up this Wednesday. See, I do need Deb Cruz because I have too many things open at the same time. You can check that out. Check out their website. These guys are up to really good stuff. I think some of you have seen this, right? We can go ahead and do that, but let me go here first. So Wednesday, you guys, if you go to pacificwild.org and go to their events, this Wednesday, 7 to 8:30 p.m. is a free webinar. You can give love donations that way, but it's free. If you guys want to watch this webinar, I highly suggest you do that. I think that that's important. They do good work. We'll get them on here to talk more about that. Keep using your voices, you guys. We have to acknowledge, we've said that before, you have to acknowledge the past in order to heal the future. And so Robert Mendez is doing a film, and I told him I would get this. Thank you, Christina, for reminding me. I want to share this with you guys. Let me see. I have too many screens open. Oh, boy. I want to share this trailer of his. Let's see if I can get it up here. Before I do that, because we'll end with that, just want to make sure, Ma and Christina and Howard, if there's anything you want to say before we close it. Here we were wondering if we were going to talk the whole hour, and we're past the hour, and there's so much to say. So I think action is always how we end it. Just be thinking about what you guys can do. Howard?
I think it's been a pretty interesting show for being last minute, spontaneous, and slapped together. But we've covered a lot, and I think we've led people to where they can find good information, and that means this book, Unfathomable, and other sources. So it's gone well. Thanks, Annette, Christina, and Ma.
You guys go to Amazon and look up Unfathomable by Marcia Hinton Davis, and you probably want to get a copy. Christina?
I just wanted to echo what Howard said about Marcia bringing all of this insight to us. It's a miracle in itself, and this book is awesome, and everyone should read it because there's a lot of really good information in here on what you can do to help. And a lot of good information about our precious darling Toki. So thank you, Marcia. Thank you, Howard. Thank you, Ma. Thank you, Annette. I love you guys so much, and I love all of you so much.
Yeah. Love you too. Someone's asking about John Carlos Frey. We were communicating, so yes, that should be coming out. That documentary should be coming out very, very soon, guys. So stay tuned.
Good.
Stay tuned for that. Ma?
Yeah. Everything everybody's already said. Thanks to you, Annette. Thanks to you, Howard. And thanks to you, Christina, always. And most of all, thanks to Marcia and thanks to Toki, because each word is worth its weight in gold. You can learn everything you need to know from this book, and she's done an absolutely great job. So, and thanks to you for watching as well.
Guys, let's not forget this can be done. There's other orcas in captivity that deserve their freedom, and Shemank, for one of them, there's one. I mean, there's Corky. There's just so many, and it was done. It was done with Keiko. So we'll end with this trailer. I don't have a release date for this film, so before people ask, I don't have a release date. However, do you want to share the newest trailer? So, Robert, thank you for this film. I know it's got a lot of interviews with a lot of key folks who were there working with Keiko. So we'll end with that. Love you guys, and we'll see you on Sunday. Yeah,
Love you. Bye.
love you too. Here we go.
The Keiko project was a crazy project.
I'd actually seen the movie at that time. It was a good story. It was cute, but I thought it's never going to be as easy as jump over a breakwater.
I think Keiko was bold.
And Keiko was not the best candidate, but he was the only candidate. In the captive industry were threatened. The scientific community was skeptical. So we needed to develop a team of people that didn't have 1,000 years of experience, but they've got heart. And the dream was taking Keiko home to try to duplicate what they did in the movie, to free Willie. It could be fantastic.